So today, we're talking about pre-flight checks. Welcome. Glad you're able to join me. Hope you're doing well. My name is Mike, and I am a Transport Canada Certified Advanced RPAS pilot, or drone pilot if you prefer. So I was talking with a brand new drone pilot the other day, and I realized that he had almost no idea of what to do to fly safely or legally. So I figured I would go through my pre-flight checks with you guys and let you know what I do for my drone packed up to travel to in the air. Now, I do realize that a lot of this will be very specific to my situation, but it's basically the same no matter which drones you have or where in Canada you are flying. So the very first thing you need to do, and this probably goes without saying, but figure out where you're flying. So let's just pick a random town in Alberta, Daysland. And the very first thing you need to do, the second thing you need to do is check the weather. There's several options, and I usually check 2 or 3 different sources. One app I use is called UAV Forecast. I personally think they're a little high in their wind speeds, but I'd rather be a little safe than sorry. I also have used Avia Weather and Environment Canada. So now that we have a basic idea of our weather situation, we can move on to the next item in our checklist, which of course is the actual airspace. Now, I like to check my airspace before I leave home. 2 reasons for this. Number 1, it's easier to check, and number 2, it's cheaper. So let's say I get a job and I pack up all my gear, drive for an hour to the site, and then find out it's beside an active runway. I now have to go back home, get my permits in place, and then drive back in a week or 2 once everything's ready. It's a huge waste of time and money for me and my client. So the website I use for this is nrc.canada.ca, and I'll drop a link in the description. This shows all the airports, heliports, national parks, and other various no-fly zones across the country. Now, before we leave home, there's one more thing we need to check. Just a few simple questions. Open up your drone case and have a look around. Of course, we'll get more into depth of the drone once we're on site, but for now, make sure your batteries are charged, that you have your cable to connect your tablet or phone to your controller, make sure your SD card is formatted and empty, and just have a quick look over your drone for broken or missing pieces. Once all that's done, you can pack up and head out to site. Once you arrive on site, you need to get ready to fly. Now, due to the fact that I'm an advanced pilot, there are things that I need to do in order to keep my license. So I have a checklist that I go through step by step before takeoff. So let's look over my list just quickly, knowing that I take quite a bit more time when I'm actually in the field flying. So the first section is just general information, the who, where, when, and why. And the next section is the pre-flight assessment. This is for weather and general site conditions of the flight path. Then we start getting into the more nitty-gritty of the flight. We're looking for potential hazards like birds, trees, power lines, people, and whatever else may cause an unplanned rapid disassembly of our drone. Then I have a section for hazard controls and emergency response, and that would be the first side of the sheet. On the back side of the sheet, I have a couple of quick checklists. The first one is an actual checklist, and the next 2 are lists of things to check. And yes, there is a difference. The checklist is for the things that I feel will scrub the flight. The other 2 lists are for things that will make it either take more time or force me to come back at a later date. So an inconvenience, but not quite so much safety related. Of course, I do realize that having 10 pounds of drone in the air can be a huge safety concern, but I do my best to eliminate the risks as much as humanly possible. So when I'm actually on site, I have my clipboard at the very least, and I usually take my full operations manual. In my clipboard, I have a few pieces of documentation. I have section 10 of my operations manual, which is my emergency plan. I have a copy of my pilot certificate, drone registration, radio operator certification, a list of emergency phone numbers, as well as some other certifications. So once all our checklists have been completed, we are ready to fly, presuming that there were no unsafe conditions during the checks. If there's enough interest, I can actually go through the checklist on site before a flight. So hopefully you got some useful information from this video. If you want more information, feel free to contact me however you are the most comfortable. Also, if you don't mind, on your way out of the video, if you could hit one of the thumbs, preferably one pointed up, it does help out a lot. And if I provided you with some value today, please consider subscribing. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links are also in the description, as well as a copy of my pre-flight checklist. So until next time, bye-bye.